All right, kids, it's about that time. This is the 101st episode of the We Are One, You Are Two PlayStation podcast. I'm your host for all 101 episodes, Rob Fanzo. I'm joined once again by Mr. Malachor, Matt Rhodes.
Hey-o.
I've been playing a lot of Greedfall recently, and everybody's infected with Malachor in that game and dying. And so I'm blaming you for the reason that they're all dying in that game, even though you have no idea what it is.
That's fine. I probably caused the plague in your game.
You probably, yeah. At least you didn't give me the coronavirus. So
yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that, actually, because it ties into some PlayStation news. But, man, it is just a scary thing.
Right?
But anyway, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Robert. How are you doing?
I'm freaking fantastic, as they say.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why in a little bit here. But I do want to remind people first and foremost that if you head over to patreon.com/weareone, you are two, and you are currently or plan on becoming a patron at our low $2 level, that's $24 a year. I spent $3.59 for a terrible caramel macchiato at McDonald's tonight. And so for the price of less than a medium caramel macchiato, you can have a chance to participate in some of the stuff we have going on over on patreon.com/weareoneyouare2, including our giveaway for our 105th episode. I shouldn't say giveaway because it's not a giveaway. I'm sorry. Our contest for 105th episode to win a $105 gift card to PSN. All our patrons are having an opportunity to participate in that. And so that is something to reward our patrons, which we've had some people sign up. So I'm kind of excited. Good, yeah. You know, I actually had 2 people increase their pledges this month. So that was nice of them as well. They jumped up to the $3 tier, even though they didn't have to. So I do want to give a shout out to Relentless Rex creator Kevin for upping his ante over there, and a former student of mine and fellow video gamer Jonathan as well for joining our Patreon over there as well. And I want to thank them both for jumping in. And of course, Rob, our community member who also helps us out with the podcast on occasion, also continues to pledge his support over there as well. So I want to thank him too.
Sweet.
We're growing. We are growing. And I hope I can read off some more names next week as well. But again, all you got to do is jump over there, and for a measly $2, and even if you just want to do it for $2 for 1 month to try for that contest, right? Where you write in and name that segment. I literally called it "Do the Work for Us," name that segment. Yeah. If you just want to jump in and do that and then cancel your subscription after that, if you don't win the gift card, that's fine. If you want to continue to support us afterwards, that's great too. We're going to have more opportunities for more segment naming and a few other things as well, where we will select winners and reward them coming out of our pockets. And so if you want to support us, if not, and you want to be a freeloader, we're fine with that. Just share, like, and subscribe our show with all of your friends and family.
I will say real quick, I know that we are a PlayStation podcast, but if the winner would prefer a Switch or Xbox One card, we will give that to them. I don't want to dissuade the people that listen to our podcast and like our podcast, but only have Xbox, so they don't want to, be a patron because it won't do them any good. I will say that, if there's some Switch fans out there and some Xbox One fans that like to listen to us, please feel free to join us on Patreon, and we'll make it work for you as well.
Awesome offer from Matt. So yeah, we're all about supporting people here, and so we'll be happy to do what we can for people, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, so Matt, we've got a great show lined up for people. There's lots of news this week, so we're going to talk a little bit about all that news. We're going to talk a little bit about Phil Spencer and his comments regarding Xbox. We're going to talk a little bit about and their future, even though this is a PlayStation podcast. We're talking a little bit about, of course, what we've been playing. We're going to cover some news regarding what else was there in there? Oh, yes, the PS5. There's plenty of PS5 news this week for us. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Platinum Games and Obsidian, as well as The Witcher 3. So plenty to talk about. And so we're going to dive into it here shortly. But first, before we do that, I feel like it's important that we cover a little bit of ground in what we've been playing.
All righty. Well.
And so I do want to spend some time talking about that because I've been playing a buttload this week.
Oh, you have? Well, let me start off then. I don't mean to cut you off, Robert, but I've also not been playing a lot. Anyways,
surprise.
So yes, let's see. I've been playing Rocket League. I've been playing Fortnite, obviously, and then also I've played this game. Oh gosh, gotta look it up. Oh my gosh, I think I played a little bit of Blasphemous as well on the Switch.
I've been playing Blasphemous. I haven't touched it in a couple of weeks, but I played a lot of that a few weeks ago, actually, on the PlayStation. It's really good. So you're still working on that a little bit here and there?
Yeah, certainly I am. I'm sorry, I'm searching for the other thing.
Oh, you're still looking for the other game? Is it a Switch game?
Yes. Okay. So, well, I think it's on Steam. It's called The Mystery of Woolly Mountain. Now.
Okay. How'd you come across this one?
So I was just looking, I just went on Switch's bestseller list. And I was just like, oh, okay. And there was a demo for it. I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like a point and click adventure, which, you know me, I love those things. So I was like, all right, I'll buy it. And then I was just like, you know what? No, I won't buy it because every time I go to buy a Switch game, and you can attest to this, every time I go to buy a Switch game, it goes on sale immediately, like 3 days later, right? I bought Rocket League, went on sale. I bought another game, completely went on sale. I'm just like, I'm tired of this. I'm spending a lot of money for Switch, and a couple days later, it's like they know what I'm going to buy, so they wait until I buy it. Well, Robert, let me tell you. I said to myself, no, I'm not going to buy this one. And lo and behold, I woke up this morning, I looked at the sale items, and there it was for 90% off.
There you go.
So if you're looking for a fun point and click adventure on the Switch, The Mystery of Woolly Mountain is $1.29 right now on Switch. Well worth $1.29.
Okay, it's a point and click adventure.
Yeah, no, it's and it has like this like dry British humor. Like it explains the rules to you and like what you're supposed to do in like the driest way possible. It's very funny. It's very well written. And even for like the demo length that I've played it, because I bought it this morning, but I played the full length of the demo, and yeah, it's just this dry British humor, and it's hilarious. So yeah, if you're looking for a fun point and click for $1.29, go to Switch. The Mystery of Woolly Mountain.
Mystery of Woolly Mountain. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much it. I did download Sims 4.
Okay. Yeah, I downloaded all the PlayStation Plus games for last month and this month.
Yeah, I thought about playing it, but I was like, I'm not quite sure like how much I want to get into that right now. So I will most likely play it after the podcast or tomorrow. I also thought about downloading the BioShock collection, but my file is like half the file size that the download is. So I was like, I don't know if I want to double.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because I have the disc. Now, I believe that's probably because there are 2 discs, and like the first disc has game 1 and 2, has BioShock 1 and 2, and then the second disc has Infinite. And I think I only installed the first disc because I wanted to play through them chronologically.
Sequentially. Yeah. Okay.
So that's why. But I was like, well, there's no point in me downloading it digitally. I already have it downloaded on my, but at the same time, I was like, man, I could really use a nice romp in Infinite right now.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of games on my to-do list, if you will, plus all the backlog, obviously. But what have you been playing, Robert?
Cool. So, Matt, I've been messing around with Greedfall quite a bit still. It's really enamored me with its post-colonial setting, and I'm working my way through it. And I realized I need to kind of step it up on the main quest. So I've been doing a lot of the main quests because I've done so many side quests. that I thought I've probably sunk 30 hours into it. I was like, I got to be close because I remember reading somewhere about how long to beat it takes, like 35 hours, 40 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to be close. So I looked at the main mission menu, just a list of main missions, and I've done 3 and there's 20. So I'm nowhere near halfway.
You've done 3 and there's 20 and you thought you were close to the end?
Well, because I didn't realize how many side missions I had done. I had no idea. And I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. I've probably done more like 5 or 6, but.
Sure. But that's the good thing, though. That's when you know you're enjoying a game, right? Like when you're diving into all the side missions, where you're not, you think it's, it's part of like the main mission because it seems so well woven into the lore. So I wouldn't say that's a bad thing.
No, in fact, it reminds me a lot of The Witcher in that way, where like you just spend hours on The Witcher and you're like, oh, I actually haven't done anything. Right?
Right.
So I definitely will finish that, but I haven't gotten there yet. I was playing a lot of Alfaris. I've mentioned that before, and they're in the news this week. That's why I bring it up. I got to the last boss, and remember we had that conversation a couple weeks ago about BS bosses that make you want to quit the game?
Yeah.
I'm at that boss, and I don't know that I'm going to actually finish Valfaris because I just can't. I can't with that last boss. I spent 40 minutes on it, and it's a 2-part boss where you actually defeat one boss, and then a second one pops up with a whole new health bar. And you get a little heart to restore like 3/4 of your health, but there's no way that you don't lose at least some health on that first boss. It's pretty difficult not to. And so I kind of shrugged it off and went, whatever. I don't know that I had the time for this. I went instead and I finished Need for Speed's Heat story. Okay. Which I couldn't tell you really what it was about other than corrupt cops and that it's really terrible. It's like a Fast and Furious movie. But I finished it. It's only 4 chapters, and so I finished it. That's a game I think I'll go back and probably try for some of the other trophies because I like the racing aspect. It's probably the best Need for Speed Heat in a long time.
Yeah.
Or Need for Speed, I'm sorry, in a long time. And so I will probably go back and snag a few more trophies. I'm not going to platinum it because it's just too much of a grind for me. Then this is where it starts to deviate a little bit because I got myself into 2 different games this week. One was one I've had for a while. I bought it real cheap on Amazon UK, or I believe it's the UK version, but I just bought it on Amazon. And it's called Sorrento, and it's a game where you wield dual katanas or dual pistols, or you can wield a pistol and a katana in VR. And you're a ninja, so you can like wall sprint, kind of like in Titanfall.
Oh, okay.
And you move around. You're supposed to be very mobile. And so I played about 45 minutes of that. And I was constantly jumping around and flipping and doing all this stuff. And I was like, this is incredible. And then I took a second between missions to just breathe because I was like mission after mission. I was just clicking through it real fast.
Sure.
And I realized I was really nauseous. So I had to stop. I got really sick. And so I actually had to stop playing completely for the next 2 to 3 hours. I was nauseous. And I think it's because I was jumping around in the last level so much because there's like 8 or 10 guys on the screen. And so you're trying to be very ninja-like. I'm like jumping over top of them, slowing down time, slashing their head off. And I'm like spinning and shooting the other guy with the pistol.
Yeah,
it makes you feel like a badass. It's really cool in that way. But it's also very easy if you don't play VR regularly. And I play VR Beat Saber. That's mostly what I play. I don't play a whole lot of games where I'm moving. And so I think it caught up with me very quickly. So it's a short game. Graphics are not great, but it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
And so I've been playing that. And then the big thing is, I don't remember if you remember this game or not, but a few weeks ago, we read a game called OOO Ascension.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And
I think so.
Yeah. We made fun of it going, oh, Ascension, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I decided to look that up, and I think it was like $6 on the PlayStation Store. And I watched the trailer for it, and it has 90 levels, and I am currently on like level 85 or 84. And so I will probably have the platinum for it, I think, by the end of the week, if not by the middle of the week. And I cannot recommend it enough. It is a little puzzle platformer. You are this little spaceship. You have to guide yourself around a circular planet. And the planet rotates as you're driving around. So kind of like Resogun to a degree.
Yeah.
Or what was that other game where you could move around on a planet? Super Stardust? Stardust HD like that? I think so, right? And so you're moving around and you're weaving in and out and you're dodging stuff and you're trying to get, it's a speed running game. And so you're trying to get to each end of the maze or the puzzle or the challenge as fast as possible. And so there's a trophy for getting 3 stars on all 90 levels. And so I haven't finished a level or moved on from a level until I've gotten all 3 stars. And so like I said, I'm on like 84 out of 90 levels. And so I've snagged pretty much every other trophy for completing every planet. I think there's 9 planets. Each one has 10 levels.
Nice.
And it's really good. I really love it. Like, I cannot recommend it enough. I'm going to put some gameplay of it, short snippets on my Twitter. You know, each level's no more than like 30 to 40 seconds time-wise. Some of them are like 10 seconds to complete, 15 seconds, 20 seconds to complete. But you will probably spend at least 5 or 6 minutes sometimes on a level just trying to master it. Or get through it for the first time and then trying to get the 3 stars.
Cool.
And so it's not difficult at all, but it's really worthwhile. I highly recommend it. I think it's on Switch too, if you're not a trophy chaser. I didn't know that it was going to be an attainable platinum when I started it. I just wanted something chill to kind of pull me away from Greedfall, since that's such a heavy RPG. And I need something I could just jump in and out real fast this week. But I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. And I don't think it's getting enough attention, because it's just one of those small games. Because I was counting this week, and we'll move into the news here in a minute, but there's 17 games on the PS blog this week that are releasing. We'll talk about that when we get there. There was 22 last week, and 2 weeks ago there was 15. And so I've decided that I'm going to go back for next week's episode, and we're going to keep track of how many games released on the PlayStation Store this year. We're going to keep a running total that I will update every week.
Okay.
And so, you know, just between the last 3 weeks, you know, you've got 17, as I mentioned. You got this week, you got 15 from 2 weeks ago and 22 last week. So what is that? 32 and 22 is 54. So far in the last 3 weeks, 54 games have been released on the PSN.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that is nuts. Now, I'm not going to be so picky to keep track of. Sometimes we read something, we're like, I swore we read this 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And they might have pushed. I'm not going to go be that fanatical about it.
Probably best not to.
I'm going to just keep a running total, just so we can see how many games are released on the PlayStation Network between now and the end of the year. So I'll go back through the first couple of weeks of January to total up, add to that 54. But in 3 weeks, 54 games. So if there's nothing for you to play right now and your backlog is non-existent or you don't feel like touching it, you've got at least 54 games from the last 3 weeks you can browse through. All right. Shall we get into the news?
We shall.
So this is a little news-heavy week this week, so it's going to tie into our topic a little bit. Some of it's real short, Matt. I don't know if you've noticed, but I did notice this because I go on Push Square a lot, and they're a UK website. But they made note, and I've seen other websites make note of this, that it seems as though Sony's regional branches, which have been pretty much independent of each other, and this is true of the eShop with Nintendo too. It looks like they're trying to be unified, because it looks like across the entire globe the last couple of weeks, the different brands were united in some way. The fact that all the sales and the sale themes seem to be mirrored across the United States and most of Europe. And so like the critically acclaimed and retro and remaster sales from this past week that run into the end of this week, when you're listening to this podcast, they are launched at the exact same time, the exact same date, pretty much the exact same games as well.
Interesting.
There might be a few games that are different, but I've noticed that there are a lot of similarities looking at it on my own. And so I don't know if you ever noticed about the Nintendo eShop. I go on Reddit a lot, and I've noticed that a lot of times people will say, oh, this is on sale this week in Japan on the Japan eShop. It doesn't seem, and there's a sale on the Australian eShop that's not on the United States eShop at all. No games. And so it looks like Sony's doing that whole uniting their brand globally thing, which we kind of saw already with the way they've shuffled around some of the major players within the company. But this kind of looks like a step forward towards that, which is not a bad thing in my opinion.
No, not at all.
Now, on the other hand, PlayStation, this is our second news story that I picked up this week, is that apparently there's a patent going around. Did you see this? that suggests Sony might want to push microtransactions on players. And so it was a diagram that showed a user conversing with their console in like an Alexa-esque type scenario.
Okay.
And in that example, the device said 80% of players beat a particular boss using a specific type of in-game resource. And it allows you to presumably either use in-game currency or real money via the PlayStation Store to buy that if you don't have it. Now, what I wanted to add in there is that we see patents all the time from Sony that never come to fruition. So I wouldn't panic if I were you. But we have seen in the past them teasing this idea that there will be some sort of in-game dialogue option.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Do you recall that? Do you remember that in-game dialogue option that the PlayStation 5 might supposedly have?
Yeah, something along the lines of like you could, get like help or
Help.
I think part of the thing, what's coming to my mind was the fact that you could have like a friend jump in at any time.
Yes.
Like that kind of a thing. Like you could be like, hey, I'm at this spot. Let's, and then you would invite me and I would come help you with whatever you needed.
Yes, exactly.
But not necessarily, I guess in my mind, what I was thinking was not necessarily like an Alexa type help thing.
Right. Yeah, I kind of thought it might be an Alexa type thing. And this kind of seems to push that idea a step further by saying that if you want help, you can also purchase, an item from the store, which I jumped to in my mind as an example. If you wanted more red orbs in Devil May Cry 5 last year, you could purchase like 10,000 for $1.99, and that would allow you to upgrade an ability of Dante or Virgil, or not Virgil, I'm sorry, Dante or Nero, right?
Yeah.
And so something like that, I guess, is what they're kind of targeting people with. That opportunity that, hey, I'm not very good at this game. I could use some extra help. Could I spend, some of my hard-earned cash to get a little bit of assistance from a PlayStation perspective there? So
yeah, I don't know. That seems, I don't know, pay to win seems a little kind of silly to me, but
it does. And so, I mean, people freak out about this. This is not Sony, I think, necessarily forcing transactions on you, but giving you an easier way to do it rather than having to go to the PlayStation Store for it, right?
Right. I mean, as long as they're not forcing it on me, I don't care. Like, I mean, if it's something that, I can do, of course, why wouldn't they make it easier for people to spend money on the PlayStation Store?
Right.
Duh. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course they're going to do that if they think it's going to help them.
Right. And so I don't see this is necessarily a big deal in any way.
Yeah, no, neither do I.
All right. So good. We agree with that. So speaking of rumors and things are going around a little bit, there's also been strong rumors floating around over the last few months regarding Activision, who announced that they had several games from their back catalog that we would see that they might be working on this year. There's also been one particularly around Crash Bandicoot, and there being a new Crash Bandicoot game. Because the Insane Trilogy did very well, Crash Team Racing seemed to do really well, and so it seemed to make sense. But according to Jump Button and Martwera, I guess, on Twitter, they apparently have uncovered a Crash Bandicoot mobile game from Candy Crush developer King, which is, by the way, owned by Activision. And so it looks like to be some sort of endless basic platformer, right?
Yeah.
They've dug up assets from the title's marketing campaign. It looks pretty legit. I think by the time this podcast will be out, they probably will have announced that. And so if you had your hopes up for a new Crash game, I'm sorry. You're going to get a mobile game instead. So I think Activision wasn't quite listening when people bought all their stuff.
I think it'd be funny if there was like a Crash Bandicoot Candy Crush kind of a game.
Yeah, right? That'd be hilarious, I think.
Yeah.
But clearly they were not listening. For anybody upset, I can't blame you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what happened there. Moving on. Number 4, PlayStation 5, of course, will be backwards compatible with PS4 games. But during a recent financial call, good old Ubisoft and their head honcho, Yves Guillemot, answered a question regarding next-gen systems and backwards compatibility. And I want you to tell me what you think of this quote.
Okay.
Because I thought it was very interesting the way he worded this. He said, those consoles will be running almost all the back catalog of the previous consoles, he said. Quote, it will be something new in the industry. It will help the old generations to continue to be big consoles on the market for years to come. And what I'm wondering is he talking about when he says they'll be running almost all the back catalog of the previous consoles? Is he reaffirming what Sony has already said about how almost all PlayStation 4 games will work on the PlayStation 5? Or is he suggesting all the back catalog, meaning all the back catalog? Like I can go back to PS1 with my backwards compatibility.
Right. Is the plural of consoles related to how many people have the PS4, or is it related to the number of consoles that PlayStation has manufactured and put out in different generations? Hard to say.
He could be saying consoles too when he's talking about PlayStation and Xbox.
Well, no, the first one, but when he says, those consoles, obviously referring to the next generation, will be running almost all the back catalog of the previous consoles. Now, is that in reference to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One? Or is that a reference to all the PlayStation? I don't know. That's hard to say.
Yeah, it is hard to say. And I didn't want to make too much of a big deal out of this, but I did find his wording to be
purposely
convenient. Yeah. Conveniently ambiguous and easy to be interpreted in more than one way.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Don't get your hopes up. I'm aiming low. I'm hoping if they can just get most of my PlayStation 4 games to run on the PS5, I'll be happy. If they come out and say, 3, 2, and 1, I'll be set.
I mean, I don't have any hardware. I don't think I have any discs for the past from 3, 2, or 1.
Yeah, I don't. I've sold most of those off or lost them.
If it doesn't for 4, it's not going to stop me from buying it. I'm still going to buy it. I'm still going to play all the new games on it.
Right.
I mean, the likelihood of me actually, I'm not one to keep my hardware. I like to trade in my stuff, but the likelihood of me actually trading in my PS4 this time is probably slim, just because I do have that Darth Vader Battlefront Special Edition one.
Yeah, I agree. I have all my consoles. I never get rid of them. I have my PS1, I have my PS2, my PS3 is out in my living room, and I have my PS4. I've never gotten rid of a console. The problem is that I did at one point trade in several of my PS1 and PS2 games.
Yeah.
I still have some. I have the original Final Fantasy on PS7 on PS1. I have my Resident Evil on PS1, and I had several PS3. I still have a lot of PS3 games, but
yeah,
I did get rid of a lot of PS1, PS2 games.
And here's the thing, Rob, who can blame you? We grew up in that culture where trading in games to get money back for them was like the thing to do, right? Like we weren't a part of this digital culture yet.
We knew that GameStop was a ripoff, but we still did it because we were broke.
Right. Because we were children.
I know I cringed several times at the money I got back, but at the same time I was like, but you know what? It's better than nothing.
Right. It's
right.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, well, sure. Does this represent a whole ton more of money, or a whole ton more money that I've already spent? Yes. But like, where else am I going to get money for this? Or, how much am I really going to do this, even if I tried to sell it myself?
Right. It is what it is.
That is true.
I've made my peace with it a long time ago. All right. So we mentioned Corona, and I'm horrified and sorry for all the people who are struggling through that and suffering with that. And I do hope, that my prayers are with them. I do hope the best comes out of it. I know even here in North Carolina, supposedly in Mecklenburg County, which is like one county over from me, they have 4 people quarantined right now that they're afraid came back from China may have it.
Oh, wow.
So it is close to home here.
Well, I mean, I live in the city that had it first, I think, right? I think Chicago was the one with the first case in the United States.
You are correct. Yeah. So the thing is, though, what also is interesting about this is that console companies rely on manufacturers such as Foxconn to bring their products to market. And of course, much like the rest of China, that giant is currently quarantining employees. And so that's forced Nintendo to adjust its plans. And the next iPhone could be delayed as well. So wow. I do want to point out to people, this does mean that could possibly delay the PS5 too.
No.
So something just to think about, right? We may not get a new console before 2020
Yeah, that's
is up,
crazy.
or we'll get a shortened supply, and it'll be in short supply for quite a while. They'll be pulling a Nintendo without purposely pulling one.
You know what's funny? So here's the thing in regards to that. Now, do you think that's why Sony has delayed saying anything?
No, I think Sony was letting the hype train go for a while, and I think this just is a convenient, not convenient because that's the wrong word, but like this is just one of those mistakes that, or weird anomalies that has tied in nicely. I think now if we have delay, it's because of that, yes. But I think originally it was not. I think Sony was originally waiting until March to reveal something, and that was their plan all along, and we just misunderstood. But I think now we are at a point where, yeah, Sony has no choice but to kind of wait and see what happens here with this. So
yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring that to people's attention because if you don't hear anything from Sony now, and they may still go ahead with the announcement, but explain that, and they may just explain that in the announcement that this is a delay for this reason, and we're sorry. We will have limited supply, but we guarantee that within 2021, supply levels will be back again.
Yeah.
I don't know. As long as it doesn't affect the console price, I don't think they'll matter. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Sure.
All right. Number 6, Bayonetta and Vanquish come out later this month. In fact, I'm super excited about that. Cannot wait for those to arrive because those are 2 games I never got around to playing. And it's released on PS4 coming, 2 weeks now, I guess, or a week from when you're listening to this podcast. However, the 2 Bayonetta sequels are exclusive to Nintendo platforms because the Super Mario Maker stepped in to keep the series alive when Sega turned its back on it. The rights that obviously are complicated, but Platinum Games has a ton of publishing money from Tencent, and producer Atsui Inaba admitted in an interview with IGN that it would like to self-publish all its properties moving forwards. And so that does mean we could very well get Astral Chain, which I don't know that will happen, but we could very well get Astral Chain along with Bayonettas at some point on the PlayStation ecosystem, which would be nice. Astral Chain is an incredible game.
Yeah.
Except for that end boss. And tying into that, I'm going to jump around a little bit here in the news. I had this a little bit later, but I don't know if you saw this, but Platinum Games, sorry, I just blanked there for a minute, having a stroke. Platinum Games this week also had a Kickstarter unveiled to bring the wonderful 101, a Wii U game, to have it remastered for the Switch. If it made its $50,000 Kickstarter goal. Then if it made something like a $450,000 Kickstarter goal, it would be coming to PlayStation 4. Last I had checked, they had made something like 2 to 3 million on Kickstarter. So I think it's safe to say it will be coming to PlayStation. I'm going to have to look up. I think it was 2-point-some million, which was very, very impressive.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And so I'll have to double check that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was in the millions. And so we will be getting the wonderful 101, which I never played. Most people didn't because it was on the Wii U, from Platinum Games at some point in the PS4's future, which at this point they must just make it a PS5 game, depending on when they're planning on releasing it. All right. That being said, let's move on. Do you remember Hangar 13, Matt? Developer Hangar 13? Familiar. It might sound familiar because they make the Mafia games.
Oh, yes.
And so it's clear that the next entry of the Mafia has been in development for years now. But recently, a new set of trademarks hinting at another installment would be on its way have appeared. And 2K's latest earnings report stated that the company will go public with 2 of its upcoming projects very shortly. Those being Hangar 13's next game and another title from 2K Silicon Valley, led by Dead Space director Michael Condrey. And so I don't quite know what that game would be, but Hangar 13 clearly going to announce maybe Mafia 4 coming up.
Nice.
And so, yeah, that should be exciting. I've never played those. I know that one was free on PS Plus last year, I just never got around to it. I heard it was very good, though. Just never got around to it.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8. You and I have not played this, right? But Obsidian's The Outer Worlds has sold 2 million copies. It was announced this week. That is the studio's most successful title since South Park, The Stick of Truth.
Wow.
What's more impressive about this, though, Matt, to me, is the fact that that does not include the number of people who probably played it on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And so it is probably total, I would guess, probably more like 4 or 5 million would be my guess for that game.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. What makes me sad about that, though, is since Obsidian is now owned by Xbox and Microsoft, it's more than unlikely that we will see a PlayStation 5 sequel for it. So if we get an Outer Worlds 2, it will probably be an Xbox Series X exclusive. But you know that's coming. There's just no way that you have 5 million people play a game and you don't make a sequel to it.
Right.
Not in the age of franchises.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
So kudos to them. Developer Team Ninja, moving right along. Team Ninja is apparently in the final phases of production on Neo 2. Are you excited for Neo 2? Did you play any of Neo?
Yeah, I played the demo of both. I liked Neo 2 better than I liked the first one.
Okay. Well, what's interesting about Neo 2 is they actually are going to reduce the difficulty because that was the biggest complaint about that beta.
Interesting.
And so, anyway, what I wanted to bring up regarding Team Ninja is that they are clearly looking at Sony's PlayStation 5, and they announced that they do have a new IP plan for the system. But studio head Yosuke Hayashi also said, quote, "I believe a new console will bring new opportunities, and we would like to create a new game, a new intellectual property for PlayStation 5. And then he went on to talk about, and I don't have this actually written down, but he went on to talk about that they recognize that people want another Ninja Gaiden game from them, but that they are not there yet. Wow. But they would like to revisit that series eventually.
Sure.
I never played any of the Ninja Gaidens. I think I played one, if I remember correctly. Have you touched any of those?
Yeah, I played one, I think on PlayStation 3. But yeah, it was one of those things where it was like super hard. I was like, what? No.
Yeah, it was always just a series that I guess for lack of and I'm sure I'll get shot by someone for saying this, it flew under the radar for me. Like it never had my attention, oddly enough. And so I don't know why, because it's not like it's not a great series and highly revered, right? I just never paid much attention to it. Sorry. So yeah. All right. Number 10 is just a brief short mention here. I wanted to point out that PlayStation recently over on their blog revealed January's top PS4 game downloads. And coming in at number 4, Matt, for the month of January was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
That's nuts.
It outsold games like Fallen Order, NBA 2K20, God of War, Need for Speed Heat, Red Dead 2, Resident Evil 2, Spider-Man, which all cracked the top 20, but it was only beat out by Grand Theft Auto 5 as the top game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is number 2, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot at number 3. So it has seen quite the renaissance.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm very impressed by that. Still selling strong. Second month in a row, it's cracked the top PlayStation selling games.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's just PlayStation. That does, think about that. That means Steam and other platforms. It's probably cracking, sales there too, repeatedly.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. A little bit more Ubisoft news before we move on, and that is that they announced they are going to release 5 games between October 2020 and March 2021.
That's crazy.
Let me repeat that. October 2020 and March 2021. That is October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 5 games in 6 months.
So basically,
they are going to launch. Yes. 3 of which are planned to arrive before the end of the year. They are clearly Watch Dogs Legion, God and Monsters, Rainbow Six Quarantine, Assassin's Creed, and another Far Cry game. And so you are getting those 5 games within the next 6 months.
I really wonder what the Far Cry game is going to be. Because, usually based on their models before, right? You get a Far Cry game with the numeric title, which we had Far Cry 5, right? And then shortly after that, usually within a year or so, you get a new Far Cry built on the same exact systems, just in like a more weird and colorful way, which obviously was New Dawn. In previous years, it was Far Cry 4 and Far Cry Primal and Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon.
Right.
So this should be a numbered one, but I feel like it's too soon, isn't it?
It might be. I don't know. But I did want to point that out to everybody that you are, whether you like it or not, you are getting another Far Cry, another Assassin's Creed, as well as a Rainbow Six Quarantine, Watch Dogs, and Gods and Monsters. Out of all of those, the only one I'm slightly interested in, I think, is God and Monsters. I never finished Odyssey. I'm a little burnt out on Watch Dogs. Rainbow Six that's not my cup of tea. And Far Cry, I never finished 5. I was burnt out on that too.
Yeah.
And I never picked up New Dawn.
Well, you know me. I just recently finished 5.
Exactly. So maybe I'll get back into Far Cry. We'll see. But the American setting didn't do it for me.
That's really funny because I thought to myself, man, this is really current. This really makes sense as a good move. And then, once I got there, I was like, it's boring.
Yeah, it was. It was extremely dull. I like the exotic locations. I like my crazy, killer protagonists like, what was his name? Voss?
Yeah.
Who was fantastic as a villain. But, you put that cult leader in, I was just like, nope, I'm bored. I even enjoyed 4 with the Himalayans.
Maybe it's a remaster of 2.
Maybe. We'll see.
I could see them.
We will see.
Just looking up the titles, and Far Cry 4 came out in 2014. Primal came out in 2016, and then 2018 was 5, and then New Dawn would have been, I believe, 2019, right? Yeah, 2019. Yeah. So usually, or in times past, it's been every 2 years, and then every 4 years in between the numbered ones. But this is 2 years. If it's a numbered one, this would be only 2 years between the numbered ones. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. And maybe, who knows, maybe it's a reimagining of it, just like maybe they're kind of rebooting the franchise a little bit, just like they did with Assassin's Creed, and giving people a fresher look at it.
I would be okay with that.
Which honestly, I think would be fantastic.
Agreed. All right. Moving on. Number 12. I'm just trucking through these. Sakura Wars, which is like a mecha action waifu simulator, also known as Project Sakura Wars in Japan, just got rated by the ERSB Matt, and I wanted to share its rating with you.
Okay.
So it is getting a T for teen rating, but I wanted to read the description, and I like going on the ERSB's website sometimes just to see what new games have been rated and how they're described, because I can't imagine who writes these. And so it says, this is a relationship simulation action game set in a steampunk 1920s version of Tokyo, so far I'm in which players lead a combat troop to defeat demons by using giant mech suits. Sold. Players use sword and blasters to fight enemy robots and demons in melee-style combat. Still sold, right? Yeah. But then it goes on to say, and I quote, the game also contains some sexual material, dialogue referencing pornography. For example, I guarantee you that's porn, or, whoa, that's definitely a nudie magazine. And then it continues to go on and say, quote, mini games in which players can zoom in on characters' body parts, for example, legs, buttocks, breasts, with accompanying dialogue. Man, those legs, just imagining the paradise at the end of them. As far as chest size, the bigger, the better. A still image sequence depicting a character groping a woman's chest while stating, but they look so soft. Just one little squeeze. Incredible. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
So
you're still. So what you're saying is you're still in, basically.
No, that's kind of drawing the line for me there. I was good with the mecha demon fighting suits. I didn't really need the mini games and the weird, uncomfortable sexual dialogue, because knowing that it's a Japanese game, they'll probably look like they're all 12.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was a little awkward when I saw that. I was like, well, this is definitely not how I typically imagine my games going. So I'll pass on that. A hard pass, a hard no from me. So, but I did want to read that because it still gave me a good chuckle today when I saw that, putting this document together. I was like, okay, this is where we're at now with Japanese, games. So good stuff. I mean, not that there aren't games that are already like that. There are plenty of games that are made that have that stuff, especially the visual novel genre. It's just so funny to read the way they write that stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And as a soon-to-be parent, it kind of makes me laugh to think about that. All right, number 13, Atomic Heart. Do you remember that game? It looks like
maybe?
BioShock set in Russia.
Oh, okay. No, I do not remember it.
Okay, if you look it up, it's incredible looking. They released a few seconds of footage, I guess, giving us new gameplay. And so IGN has brought us a new teaser trailer. I also watched a 40-minute video. I didn't watch all of it, where the guy got to go play for 3 hours. He was Russian media, and so he talked a little bit about his impressions and had some gameplay mixed in there. It looks incredible. I cannot wait for it, and hopefully we get it sometime this year. All right.
Cool.
In other news, a little bit sadder news here. Sony has decided to shut down Manchester Studio before they even got to announce a game they were working on. The VR reality-based developer was formed in 2015, was working on an unannounced project, but the Japanese giant has decided to call on the team as part of our efforts to improve efficiency and operational effectiveness. And so this is the third UK-based studio that Sony has shut down in the last few years. And so I wanted to highlight that because it is not good to be a UK studio owned by Sony. If you remember, like Liverpool was shut down, and then I'm blanking on the name of the other studio. Unfortunately, I apologize about that. But this is the third studio basically to be shut down by Sony. So
yeah. It's always sad to hear that happen, you know?
Yeah. I mean, good luck to all those affected. I'm sure they will find work elsewhere, hopefully. Speaking of shutting down and leaving, this is big news. Dan Houser, you may know him as the co-founder of Rockstar Games. He will be leaving the company in March of 2020, a Take-Two document revealed this week. Houser and his brother Sam have been instrumental in shaping the developer's creative vision, and his official title included vice president. He was a writer on every Grand Theft Auto title, as well as Red Dead and Red Dead Redemption 2. And so they've basically been with the company since the beginning. And he announced that he would be leaving. And so I'm not quite sure what that means for Rockstar, but that clearly sounds like some changes are coming. Yeah. Because you don't have, that's like when Amy Hennig left Naughty Dog. You don't have a major head who's been there since the beginning leave and not be shifting a direction of your company.
Right. It's kind of hard not to.
Yeah, because he's a writer on all the Grand Theft Auto games. I almost wonder, and the Red Dead games, I almost wonder if there's a shift for Rockstar, maybe away from single player games. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but one could argue that there is a certain level of oddness to this, right?
Yeah.
So not quite sure what to make of it. I do know that that is what is occurring. So best of luck to him. I'm sure he'll be fine wherever he goes or whatever he decides to do. He's probably made enough money to not do anything, but we'll see what happens and how that affects Rockstar in the future. All right, Matt, we're wrapping up with just a couple more. One I just want to mention very quickly. You may know that Troy Baker and Nolan North have been documenting a playthrough on The Last of Us on their YouTube channel, Retro Replay. What I thought was really cool was they brought Ashley Johnson along for the ride in one of their latest videos. And she is the voice actor and motion capture artist of Ellie. And she was sharing some new stories that she had picked up since while shooting the sequel to Naughty Dog's most anticipated game probably in the last 10 years. And as they were talking about the game, she talked about how she actually got into working on her archery in order to wanting to get better at that skill for the second game. And so I thought that was kind of cool because we are in a stage where mocap is so important.
Yeah.
In gaming now for these voice actors that they have become very much regular actors in a lot of ways. That she actually spent time practicing improving her shooting skills, right?
Right.
For The Last of Us, so that she could, I guess, I don't know, shoot a bow and arrow better, which obviously slight spoilers. Although if you didn't know that Ellie was going to shoot a bow and arrow, I think she did that in one of the trailers or one of the gameplay videos. So,
well, there's definitely like the fancy art book that's on sale right now. Like the picture of her is on the front is her riding a horse shooting a bow and arrow.
Yeah. So I don't think that's major spoilers. I know she was a little worried about saying it on the YouTube channel, but I'm pretty sure like that cat's out of the bag. People are well aware that she's going to be doing that. So, but I thought that was cool. I mean, I really appreciated that from the standpoint that, again, the line is being blurred between how much voice acting they do versus how much mocap and acting they do as well. So, all right. I mentioned Valfaris earlier as a game I've been playing. I'm super excited to announce that that game is getting the addition of what they're calling Full Metal Mode, which is essentially New Game Plus. It's a free update for PlayStation 4, but it also makes things harder, adds new weapons, and gives enemies a bit of boost in the health department. And so in order to access that, you will have to beat the game, so that probably won't happen for me. But if you've beaten Valfaris or haven't checked it out yet, it's a great 2D shooter that you may want to check out. That is getting a New Game Plus mode. All right.
Sweet.
Just a couple more, Matt. I wanted to mention that the PS5, PlayStation 5, obviously, PlayStation.com has been updated to have a PlayStation 5 page. But more importantly, I wanted to mention that in PlayStation 5 news, they talked about over on data crunched by Reset Era that via Sony's latest sales report, PlayStation Network has made $12.48 billion. Yeah. And the Japanese giant raked in an eye-watering $9.28 million through the PlayStation Store, with the sale of games, add-ons, and microtransactions. It then made a further $3.2 billion through PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. So out of that $12.48 billion, $9.28 billion of it was games, add-ons, and microtransactions. Another $3.2 billion was through PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. And they have close to 40 million subscribers for PlayStation Plus. I think it was 38 point some million. And so that's pretty good with 106 million PlayStation 4s in the wild, right? That's some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
And so congratulations to them on that. They are making bank, and I can see why they want to get people over to the PlayStation 5 as soon as possible. And Matt, just two more stories to wrap things up. One is Sony. Well, actually, I did want to give a shout out to Code Vein that has sold over 1 million copies worldwide. I don't remember if we mentioned that last week or not, but I wanted to mention that just in case we hadn't. But my two news stories wrap things up. PlayStation 5 doesn't have a cost yet. We've tried to guess several times what it could be, but the CFO, Hiroki Totaki maybe, commented that it's, quote, very difficult to nail down a cost right now, chiefly because there's so many factors to consider. And he said, not only is there manufacturing costs and promotions, but they also want to know what Xbox Series X is going to cost. And he said, quote, what is not very clear or visible is because we are competing in the space. So it's very difficult to discuss anything about the price at this point in time. And so I think Sony is hoping, and this is, you remember you talked earlier about delaying their news.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if they've also delayed this because they don't want to announce, they will probably want to announce the PlayStation 5 and announce the cost at the same time. And I don't know that they want to announce it without knowing what Microsoft is going to charge for their machine.
Yeah.
And I think they want to undercut them again.
Yeah, I mean, that's something they've done before, right?
Yeah. And so I did want to bring that up. I think it's very possible.
I mean, I guess we'll see what happens if they're able to wait or not.
Yeah. And so Microsoft, if I was Microsoft and I read that, I'd go, well, we'll just make you wait a little longer, because if the more that you keep waiting, the more people are going to get frustrated with the hype, and the more they're going to pay attention to us. And so I would just continue to make them wait. Although I think they'll probably undercut Xbox no matter what. And the reason being is our last story that we can talk about here briefly. And that is that news broke this past week that Xbox boss, Phil Spencer, sees Amazon and Google as its big competitors moving forwards. The executive dropped that soundbite during an interview with Protocol, in which he dismissed PlayStation's ability to implement a cloud-based infrastructure on par with Redmond firm's Azure setup. And he said, when you talk about Nintendo and Sony, this is his quote, we have a ton of respect for them, but we see Amazon and Google as the main competitors going forward. That's not to disrespect Nintendo and Sony, but the traditional gaming companies are somewhat out of position. I guess they could try to recreate Azure, but we've invested tens of billions of dollars in cloud over the years.
Yeah.
So he continued to say, I don't want to be in a fight over format wars with Nintendo and Sony while Amazon and Google are focusing on how to get gaming to 7 billion people around the world. Ultimately, that's the goal. And I wanted your take on this because I have plenty to say, but I'm going to hold my tongue for a moment.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's kind of where they feel like the culture is going in regards to, gaming in general and how it's going to be cloud-based. Obviously, Sony has an idea of that as well. I mean, they've already announced that they want to partner with Microsoft in that regard, right? So, it doesn't come as a shock per se, especially like if you're partnering with someone on something like this, right? Like, why would they be your competition if you've already decided to be partners in this aspect?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, I think it makes sense in regards to, the business model and how going forward it's going to be. But at the same time, those are pretty big companies to take on.
They are. And what I don't understand, because what I see here from Microsoft is that they aren't worried too much about traditional console gaming. They're more worried about the future with like Google and with Stadia is with cloud-based, play anywhere on any device gaming. And I get that because of where Microsoft is as a company. But I also don't get that because they are still in the console space and there are still 106 million people who own a PlayStation. There are 42 million who own a Switch, and there are another probably 40 million who own an Xbox. So you're still talking about almost 200 million people who prefer console gaming.
Right.
And so and we've talked about this before, where I don't think we're at that stage yet for Stadia. I think Stadia is ahead of its time, and I appreciate that, but it's also something I don't think we're ready for yet. And I wonder if this is Microsoft wanting to prep itself for creating an opportunity like that to have those in the future. But it doesn't add up to me because Sony's right in front of you right now, and they've clearly got a lot going for them. So why would you dismiss them? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Hard to say.
Right? Am I crazy?
No, not crazy. I mean, maybe they kind of want to downplay it. I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe they're softening the blow for the fact that they don't think they're going to win this console war. I think that, that they know that, I mean, even they're not pushing the fact that, like, for the first year that the Xbox Series X is out, all those games you can play on Xbox One X, right?
Right.
Or Xbox One, rather. So, I mean, if they're in no hurry to do that, I could see why that's the shift, right? If they're going to be focusing more on, the cloud-based gaming and Game Pass, obviously, if that's, you're shifting your model to that, then Amazon and Google are your competition.
Yeah. I also found, I guess, interesting in that wording that means that they've moved, like you said, they've kind of moved on from console gaming. And so Xbox Series X isn't really, it's a means to an end for them. It's not something that is their bread and butter. Whereas Sony is so profitable right now with consoles. I don't think Sony wants to abandon that space.
Right.
Even though they know the future is eventually that cloud gaming, right?
Right.
I think they're totally content being, and this is interesting because Nintendo, I didn't include this, but Nintendo came out this week and said that they're not worried about hardware, but that they only, I thought that was kind of funny they said that, but that they only want to please people by creating new and interesting IPs, which I thought was interesting because, well, Sony does that too. They just also are a console or a power company as well.
Yeah.
They do want us to have the latest and greatest with consoles. So yeah, so I don't know. I thought that was odd and I thought interesting. And I wonder if Sony's really going to be the only console maker in the market, because Nintendo isn't direct competition for Sony at all. They never really have been for Sony or Microsoft. And Microsoft is bowing out very quickly, which leaves us with just Sony.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of that. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was problematic for Microsoft to say that before launching a new console, because I really don't know that I could ever switch to a Microsoft console at this point. Not just because I love Sony, but because it doesn't sound to me like they really are interested in my money in that way. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because you should want my money, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But I mean, I just think it's the focus on Game Pass and things like that with cloud-based things. I wouldn't necessarily say it's them not wanting your money. It's just wanting your money in a different way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's probably what I should say. They want my money, but they don't want it in a console way, which is a little surprising to me, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily surprising to me just based on their statement of the, that was the surprise to me, is the fact that they're like, well, even if you don't buy Series X, you get to play all the games for the first year on the console you already have.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's what we just said. That's that strategy of our Game Pass is what matters to us, right? And so we have.
Yeah.
This makes for very interesting gaming over the next couple of years, because you've got three companies going in three very different directions.
Yeah.
And so I'll be curious to see where they wind up then 2 years from now.
Yeah, true.
I don't know, just a thought. So exciting stuff. I will also mention that among millennials, I did see an article today, among millennials, the top brands that they are most loyal to, Sony PlayStation was number 1, Nintendo Switch was number 10, and Xbox came in at number 8. And so there is a certain brand loyalty there too that Sony has developed. That also will contribute to, I think, sales next gen, because, well, let me ask you, would there be anything that would convince you to get an Xbox over a PlayStation?
No, absolutely not. In addition to, of course, I might buy the Xbox Series X, to be honest. But instead of, no, not at all.
Okay. Yeah, me either. And I think we're so entrenched in these ecosystems now, especially if backwards compatibility becomes such a thing, that I don't think anybody really very easily wants. I think the time of switching consoles is over. I think you're going to see very few people do that anymore. I really think that's a no longer a viable thing for most people. So
yeah, I mean, I can see that to a certain extent. But there's also those people that want both and are going to have both based on the fact that, there's exclusives for the other ones that they want to play.
Both, absolutely.
I almost bought an Xbox One to play Dead Rising 3. To have that game because I really like that series. But then they came out with, 1, 2, and 4 for PlayStation. So I was like, that's fine. I'll just miss one of them.
Well, and that's my point, right? You would own both, but I don't think the days where people would be like, oh, I used to be Sony and now I own an Xbox. I think those days are gone.
Right.
Very much so. So,
well, what's also great about that is you don't necessarily have to switch anymore because, with crossplay and, things like that becoming more and more prevalent, who cares what system you have? Who cares? Who cares what system you like? And maybe that's kind of Microsoft's point.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
They don't give a crap. As long as you're using their cloud, they don't care. Because that's going to cost you money.
Exactly. Right. And Sony cares because Sony's basically afloat by their console business. So I think they do care.
Right. Oh, 100%.
But I think they recognize that agnostic future is very close at hand. I think Sony would be okay if they were the only console manufacturer and they conceded the online ground to Microsoft and the handheld to Nintendo, right?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, what if Microsoft, or what if, one of the reasons Microsoft said that is the fact that they know that this is going to be their last console, and they're going to let Sony, as this partnership for their cloud services kind of continues, that's what the partnership's going to be, right? You make the consoles, we'll provide the cloud service.
Yeah, very possible.
I could see that being a thing.
Yep.
I wouldn't necessarily be mad about it.
No, I don't think I would be either. So, well, we'll see what happens, Matt. I think that's very interesting. I'm very curious to see how it all unfolds, to be honest. So, all right. Well, let's move into see you soon. Running a little long in the tooth.
See you soon.
All right, Matt. So I feel like tradition dictates you go first, but I feel like it would be appropriate if you went first this week.
Wait, what?
I said tradition usually dictates that you read first, or at least you like to go first all the time.
Uh-huh.
I feel it's appropriate you read first this week because I feel like this is your type of game.
Oh, 100%. I was like, I'm going first because this is right up my alley. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Up first, we have The Adventures of Zero Zero Dilly. The ultimate crash test dummy comes to life. Help Dilly show off his skills while shooting him across the Grand Canyon with strange devices. Collect points, find treasures, and soar upward to the highest scores with Dilly. Yes.
Pretty good stuff.
100% yes.
Yeah. Looks good. All right. AO Tennis 2. AO Tennis 2 is the only tennis experience designed for and by its community. Create your own players, stadiums, and legendary matches. Enter the competition to reach the top of world tennis in career mode.
Ooh, fun. All right, up next, Azure Lane Crosswave PS4 digital out February 13th. In the middle of each nation's normals training routine, a joint military exercise was enacted. A select few from each nation were chosen to participate in this rigorous event. But how did this event come to be? Are there other ulterior motives at play?
Ooh.
I love how that sounds like just like the inciting incident and then says nothing about the game.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and I can't remember if that's the one that I saw getting some grief because it was censored on the PS4 this week or not. Because I think those games are a little, go back to, our description we read from the ERSB earlier. I think those games are up that alley with that type of stuff, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
I might be wrong. Be wrong, though. Can't remember. All right, Matt. I forgot this was coming out this week. I was super excited about this because I started playing the original and finished it, and I was going to work my way through 2 and 3. I might just skip to 3 and then dig into this one when it's cheaper. But Darksiders Genesis is out. PS4, digital and retail. Or actually, it just says digital. I thought it would be retail, too. Darksiders Genesis, that's odd, tears its way through hell and back with guns blazing and swords swinging. Genesis gives the first look at the world of Darksiders before the events of the original game. Oh, wow. Furthermore, it introduces the fourth and last horseman, Strife, as well as co-op gameplay for the first time in the history of the franchise. And it's actually a top-down shooter.
Cool. Interesting. All right.
Yep.
Up next, we have Dreams. PS4 digital out February 14th. If you can dream it, you can play it. Explore and play in an adventure or in an ever-expanding Dreamiverse, bursting with games, music, art, and everything in between and beyond. Learn how to design your own games, animate, make music, and more with easy-to-follow tutorial videos, and then share your ideas in an online social network of creativity.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how the sales go for this one because, I feel like people don't actually want it. I don't know. I can't tell. I really want to know how, because this is Media Molecules, right? First game in 6 years since Little Big Planet. And so I'm really curious to see how well this Dreams actually sells. I'm worried about it, to be honest. All right. Glass Masquerade 2 Illusions. Glass Masquerade 2 Illusions is a dreamlike collection of artistic jigsaw puzzles to piece together at your own relaxed pace. Dive into the rabbit hole of the abstract and fantastical, putting together stained glass fragments to solve dreams and riddles. Enjoy Baroque depictions of 20th century imagination in puzzles more intricate and complex than the original. That is a creepy ass clown.
Yeah.
But that is not the description I thought I would get. Relaxing? That thing gives me nightmares.
I like it. All right, up next we have another creepy cover art. Hidden, PS4, digital out February 13th. Trapped in a mental asylum for the criminally insane. Isn't that usually what mental asylums are? Anyways, the only way to survive is to find the 3 keys to escape without being killed by other inmates. You have a flashlight, but turning it on at the wrong time will attract the other inmates. So use it wisely. Will you get out and to tell your story, or will you become one of them? That is literally what it says.
Goodness, that's painful to read.
Yeah, that's literally what it says. I would imagine that 2 was unnecessary. Will
Probably.
You get out and tell your story? That makes more sense.
Yes.
Or will you go out to tell your story without the and? Either way would be more correct than it's written.
Yes. All right. Up next, I think this was an Apple arcade game and it's coming to PlayStation. And I heard really good things about it. Mosaic. You live in a monotonous and repetitive, lonely life in a cold, overpopulated, ever-expanding city, moving through the anonymous crowds on your way to another long day at the mega corporation. You have no real sense of meaning until one crucial day when strange things start to happen on your commute to work and everything changes. Sounds depressing and interesting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, up next.
But not as interesting as this next one.
Yeah, I'm going to butcher this. Pa'arumi. I don't know. That's as close as I'm getting. Rock, paper, scissors with lasers. That's awesome. Avenge the people of Earth in this exciting Neo-Aztec shoot-'em-up. Pa'arumi is a modern shoot-'em-up set in a retro-futuristic sci-fi pre-Columbian universe. Wow, that's a mouthful. Take control of the almighty ship Chukaru and its 3 unique weapons. Rock, paper, or scissors. That doesn't say that, but I just added it.
Interesting. Project Starship. Take the role of Garrett or Gwen, pilots charged with saving the world from an ancient evil. Evade, adapt, and survive randomly generated challenges that are never the same twice. Well, isn't that what randomly generated is? Take down gods and demons alike in unpredictable bullet hell shoot-'em-up action and dive deeper to confront the hidden eye that watches over all.
Up next, we have Reed Remastered PS4 Digital PS Vita Crossbuy.
Yeah.
Long ago, in a beautiful and a mysterious world, an old supercomputer created the digital world that is now breaking down. In a final effort to stop the impending end of the virtual space, a small creature named Reed was created to save the world. The virtual world now depends entirely on you and your platforming skills.
All right. Not bad. Saboteur 2, Avenging Angel. Saboteur 2, Avenging Angel is the second part of the classic retro game made by Clive Townsend in 1985 for the ZX Spectrum 8-bit computer. In the game, experience the original mission from 1987 version and continue with new levels and enemies. Learn more about the sister of Saboteur and her dark and secret mission.
Up next, Spaceland. PS4 digital out February 14th. And turn-based, that's what it says, folks, and turn-based strategy that revives the traditions of old-school sci-fi tactics. Less covers, more action. Land on a lost planet and show the mutants what you are made of. Shoot, kick, blow up, and destroy. Assemble the most reckless team of fighters and unravel the mysteries of the mystical planet.
All right. This next one, I think I've heard good things about. Underhero. Underhero is an RPG platformer where the chosen hero has failed, and an underling of the evil king reluctantly takes his place as the new hero. Use timing-based combat to defeat enemies as you venture across the land. face off against quirky bosses, and save the Chestnut Kingdom from your own evil boss, Mr. Stitches.
Ooh. All right, up next, here it is, my game of the month. The Unicorn Princess, PS4 Digital. Explore the world on horseback and help the inhabitants of your village. Befriend Unica, the unicorn, while exploring the real world and the world of dreams. From your village, the dream world is just a step away. You're the only one who can help Unica save the world.
All right.
Unicorn Princess?
That'd be awesome. And it's like heavy metal as the title pops up.
Princess.
All right. Yakuza 3 Remastered. As part of the Yakuza Remastered Collection, which I think is on sale this week. Enjoy Yakuza 3 with restored content in 1080p and 60 FPS. In a quest to abandon their bloody past, Kazuma Kiryu and adoptive daughter Haruka Sawamura leave for Okinawa to run the Morning Glory Orphanage. But trouble shadows Kiryu, and the Morning Glory Orphanage is soon entangled in a deadly power struggle.
Yeah. Well, not to be outdone by the third one, Yakuza 5 Remastered, PS4 Digital. As part of the Yakuza Remastered Collection, experience Yakuza 5 in 1080p and 60 FPS. Kazuma Kiryu's newfound calm as an unassuming cab driver comes to a sudden end, forced to reckon with his past once more. The Dragon of Dojima returns to the criminal underworld to protect those he holds dear.
I gotta say, I never understood all the hype around those games until I started playing one, and they're really good. Like really good. I love them. I didn't finish the first one I was playing, but it's one I need to get back to. Like the storyline is just so good and so much fun. All right.
Cool.
That'll wrap it up, Matt.
That will.
I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I thank our patrons for supporting us over on Patreon. Remember, you too can become one over at patreon.com/weare1UR2. Help us keep the mics on. Certainly, you get to name a segment and enjoy the perks of our membership there as well. And so please head over there, check out that post. It's for all our patrons that are $2 and above. So nobody's excluded there. I made sure of it. And just if you don't want to give us $2, that's fine. I'm cool with it. At least share, like, and subscribe to our show. It would be much appreciated. All right. And you can find us on any podcast service, so please don't even worry about that either. Pick your favorite one and just join us. All right, Matt. That's all I've got. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for stopping by. And
my pleasure, Rob.
I'm glad you were there and you were, hanging out with me. All right, Matt. Until next time, all I've got to say is game on.
Game on. Unicorn Princess, outro music. It's light and airy like you're in a dream. Unicorn Princess!
I like that. That was good.
Oh, man.
I think you should get that game.